Hello, it's TJ Dinser here, Senior News Editor for Shacknews.com, coming at you this time to talk about one of my most anticipated games of this year, Killing Floor 3. I was recently invited by Tripwire Interactive to take part in an online multiplayer preview of the upcoming game. They also had a closed beta over the weekend that followed, and I got to take part in that too, and we got to see a lot of stuff. We got to see how the multiplayer worked, we got to see how the new levels worked, the new monsters, the gameplay, some of the classes, like TLDR. It was a blast. If you don't know what Killing Floor is, it's a souped-up version of Call of Duty Zombies in which you have, sort of RPG elements such as building classes, raising their levels, and getting stronger and stronger as you play the game. To that extent, the version that we played ahead of the closed beta, it had pretty much a lot of the maps that are going to be in the release build, a lot of the specialist classes, a lot of their weapons. The first thing that stood out to me in this game is just how ridiculously good it looks. Tripwire took a long time with this one, and that was because if they were gonna do a proper sequel, instead of just doing more stuff for Killing Floor 2, the technology had to be there for them to really make advancements in this game. And to that end, I think they succeeded. This game, even in a closed beta version, it's looking beautiful. Every character looks beautiful. The maps look beautiful. The monsters look disgusting and grisly. They have so many different effects to them. The bosses look ridiculous and in a good way. All of it in a good way. The effects are amazing. The Zed killing time, slow-mo is amazing. Every monster in Killing Floor breaks apart. They are built to break apart and explode into bits all over the place. And it actually plays into gameplay elements. So one of the things that is improved upon old games is that you can actually blow off bits of the enemies and they'll still attack you if they're still alive. We've seen that, a little bit of that too, where monsters could lose arms or something, or you can shoot off heads. But we're talking about you blow off arms and you blow off legs and they still keep crawling after you, trying to get a hold of you. It seems like it should be maybe, I guess, normal, but it hadn't been in previous Killing Floor games, and now it's finally going to be in one. Another major improvement that I noticed right away is we got power sliding and mantling and quick dodging in this game. So when you hit the sprint button this time around, instead of going just into a sprint right away, you do a quick dash about 5 feet in any direction you're pressing. And then if you hold the button down after that, then you start sprinting in whatever direction you're holding. Why does that matter? Well, a lot of the enemies, their offense has been increased to a point where they have more range than usual. The Fleshbounds, which are the big meaty dudes with turbines on their arms, they now can swing those big meaty clubs, those big metal clubs out at you like flails. That quick dash helps you dodge their attacks. You can also dodge some boss attacks when they come in for melee against you. That's going to make for some interesting play, and I think a lot of folks are going to enjoy just how versatile you can be in avoiding damage when you use that, because even at a rudimentary level, I was figuring out how to dodge certain attacks and certain abilities. You can't just dodge some of them by going backwards. So it's going to be interesting to see the skill levels improve around movement in this game. Mantling is also kind of a big deal because it gives more verticality to this game. And what I mean by mantling is now if you can get it to eye level, then you can climb up over it. And that's big for getting away from enemies. That's big for getting to different areas. That's big for a lot of things. New escape routes, different ways to play the level. And a lot of these levels have certain points where you need to jump across chasms or long areas. There's a crate hanging over one of the depots where you can jump into the crate and out the other side to lead enemies into a sort of fish in a barrel type situation. Let's get into some of the classes here. So the classes are specialists in this one, and most of them returned, but Tripwire doesn't have all of them from Killing Floor 2 in the game yet. The ones that were available were Commando, Engineer, which kind of takes the role of support from Killing Floor 2, Firebug, Ninja, which takes the place of Berserker, Medic, which is self-explanatory, and Sharpshooter, which uses sniper rifle weapons. So at this time, we're missing SWAT, Gunslinger, Demolition. I think that's it. Oh, and the all-around class, the what was it? I think it was the Survivalist, I think. So those four aren't here yet. But they have mentioned that they could make a return down the line as the game continues. even then, putting these 6 specialists in the game, like, that makes for a pretty good spread of damage and utility. I really like the engineer because it's the shotgun-based class, and Tripwire is amazing at shotguns, and that is true here too. The rapid-fire shotgun in the second tier, the engineer class, is awesome. It's a rapid-fire shotgun. You can use it to just blow holes in enemies left and right, stay on the move, and stay strong, and keep a kind of hefty pressure. I also like that every character has a gadget now in addition to their grenade, and the engineers is a tool that lets them interact with different machines and pitfalls around the environment. So we're talking about the engineer can activate turrets. They can turn on giant fans that will suck in Zeds and chop them to bits. They can open locked doors that will allow different paths and avenues of movement. Everybody has a gadget, but you can also like use any one of them freely as you please. So like a ninja can use the engineer's electric tool to open doors and turn on turrets the same way the engineer does. No, the sharpshooter has a bomb, a door bomb. So like they can close off a door and turn it into a trap, where if the enemy Zeds break through it, it will explode and kill most of them in the process. The Firebug has a lure that they can throw out that will attract Zed attention to it, so you can kind of get them into a small space and then light them all on fire. Like I said, every one of the classes can use each of the other's gear, but like in previous games, using gear specific to your class gives you a bonus in that class, and you level up around the weapons that specialist has. If you're using the Firebug, there's a perk that lets them set enemies on fire for longer, but that doesn't matter if you're using weapons that don't catch enemies on fire. But it's worth noting that you can turn a lot of weapons into kind of what you need if you play them enough. Because in addition to like leveling up and getting perks for your specialist, they also added weapons attachments to this game. So as you continue to play with a weapon, you'll unlock attachments for it that can be built with different components you get from playing matches and destroying enemies. And we're talking about everything from you can put a sight on your gun to you can change the kind of damage it does with different bullets. Like that shotgun that I was talking about that does the rapid fire on the engineer, you can get a white phosphorus shells schematic and build a white phosphorus shells weapons attachment for it. And then that shotgun will do fire damage every time it hits an enemy. You can also do like corrosive damage, energy damage, toxic damage, freezing. It just depends on what you want to play with. There's also attachments like you can make the gun fire faster. You can get like bigger clips for it. You can reduce the recoil. You can make a semi-auto gun rapid fire. There's going to be a massive amount of attachments, and Tripwire has signaled that they're probably going to continue to add more as the game continues. That's an exciting system, because like we're only going to start off with 4 main weapons and a sidearm per class. Again, you can use any weapon that you want on any class, but like each class is going to have like your starting gun and then 3 more tiers of better guns. And they're mostly pretty fun. Like I said, I really enjoy that rapid fire shotgun on the engineer. The Firebug, which is one of my other favorite classes, has a weapon at the end of their gun tree. It's like a fire rocket launcher, and then it also has a secondary fire option where you can turn it into just straight up flamethrower. I love that. It's super versatile and like an awesome gun. That's the kind of creativity I would expect out of Tripwire in creating these games, because they've been amazing at creating the gunplay in their games for years, and seeing the attachment system, that's going to be just a little bit of a cherry on top of what's already been pretty cool gunplay. I do want to mention that the Sharpshooter also has a pretty cool weapon at the end of their tree. It's like a railgun, but when you hit an enemy enough with it, it freezes them, and then you can like blast them in the head with it and shatter them to pieces. I love that weapon. It's super cool. And every one of these classes has a pretty cool setup. They were all fun to experiment with. Lastly, let's kind of talk about the bosses, because the bosses are kind of a huge part of Killing Floor. I got to see a few of them, including the Chimera. There was a kind of a brood mother type monster, and then there was the one that was like a giant shark with a big old sword on its face, and each one of them was really, really intimidating. Surprised that we haven't seen like Patriarch or Matriarch yet, or even like oh my gosh, he's very German and very angry. Oh, Hans Volta! I couldn't I can't believe I couldn't remember his name. It's Hans Volter. None of those bosses have returned yet. We're seeing all new bosses at this point. Not a bad thing. I like the bosses that they've shown us so far. The big guy with the sword on his face, he's kind of just like a brute, like a full-on brute. He'll jump at you, swing his head at you, and then once you get him down to a certain degree, he has arm-mounted rocket launchers, and he'll start firing those at you in addition to, like, rushing you down. The Chimera can jump into portals and come out of them and attack you from them. They have, like, different unique things that we haven't seen out of bosses in Killing Floor, and they make the most use of a certain system that's been added to the game. Most of the enemies have, like, a weak point system in this game, and you'll see it too, like, when a certain part of their body lights up bright red, if you blast that spot, you'll do massive damage to them. And most of the big enemies have them, like the Flesh Pounds have them. You have to like break off armor pieces on the Flesh Pounds to access their weak spot. The Scrake, if you shoot at their chainsaw enough, it gets a weak spot on the chainsaw, and if you wreck it, not only will they not be able to use the chainsaw, but you can also execute them with their own chainsaw. Yeah, you can do a lot of executions on a lot of enemies in this game, but it's worth noting, if an enemy downs you in Killing Floor 3, they can also execute you. Like, and there are some pretty burly and mean animations for when a Zed finishes you off. Every single thing has like a unique animation on you if you're down on the ground when they get to you. So helping your friends out is going to be even more important in this. I feel like it's a kind of a double-edged sword. You used to be able to pick up your allies' weapons when you died. Tripwire has decided to get rid of that, and here's why. They found that players trolled each other too much by taking each other's weapons and like holding them hostage or just not giving them back. So instead, now when you die, only you can see your own weapon, and on the next round when you come back, you'll see an icon that will direct you back to where your weapon was. And I kind of like that a lot, because not only does it give you the responsibility of keeping your gear, but also, other people aren't going to be able to be jerks to you about it anymore. One of my buddies was nice enough to usually hold on to our weapons if we died and give them back to us afterwards. But yeah, it sounds like we don't have to worry about that here. And finally, I guess I just want to say that like this is a very cool starting point for Killing Floor 3. I loved what we played in this closed beta. The levels are looking awesome, the gunplay was feeling awesome, the progression feels awesome. I can't wait to explore more of these weapon mods and like build my favorite guns into the best things that they can be. I really can't wait to see what more they add to this game as far as maps. I kind of wonder if we'll see Gunslinger and Demolitions and Survivalist make a return. But I'm happy with what we've gotten so far, and I hope that... And it sounds like Tripwire intends to support this game for a very, very long time. So this is probably going to be a opening chapter on what we expect will be a just continuing to grow, continuing to be amazing game. I can't wait to see more. I'm really happy with what I've had so far. And yeah, if you liked what you saw, don't forget to follow and subscribe to us. We have our YouTube channels on Shacknews, Shacknews Interviews, and Shacknews VODs. Pay attention to Shacknews Interviews in the coming days, because we're also going to have an interview coming out with the Killing Floor team. You can also find plenty more of our gameplay over on the original Shacknews YouTube channel. Stay tuned to our website for previews and written content, and thank you for watching. This has been TJ Denzer, Senior News Editor for Shacknews.com. We'll see you next time. Thank you much.